Welcome back, you beautiful people, to the Real Collective Podcast. I am Sean Tassa, your host, joined as always by my illustrious co-host, Kyle Miller. Kyle, happy Thursday to you. People are going to be seeing this. It's going to be posted on Tuesday next week, so happy Tuesday to them. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
It's like flying into the future. It's amazing. Like flying Australia. It's tomorrow. Good, man. Good. It's been a busy start to the year, which is nice. And January was way better than expected, which is cool. But interesting to see the kind of deals that are coming in and what's flowing and what's moving. And you can smell the spring market in the air with real estate agents seeing a lot more buyer seminars and well, that's it. Buyer seminars and workshops and webinars and stuff coming out. So people are shaking the trees to see what's out there. Absolutely. So there's going to be no lack of education possibilities for anybody looking to start that process. I guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's there's a lot to dissect. We're seeing multiple offers. It feels like it's melting, like it's so warm. This El Nino year just really makes it feel like you can still see the foundation on houses. You can still see the roof in some places, the shingles, all that kind of stuff. Normally in the beginning of February, you can't see any of that stuff. So it's interesting to see how it all plays out. Lots of talk about multiple offers on different places. So yeah.
There was a big article, social media was going nuts last couple of days with there's that house in Mississauga or it's like Brampton, I don't know, 80 offers on this house, right? And it's just it's amazing how that's such a we'll use that buzzword. It's such a divisive thing, right? To underprice a property, encouraging that. Very much so, because it just shows that lack of amount of houses. It's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Stock.
Yeah.
Supply.
Yeah.
Economics degree. Don't even know the word. Lack of supply.
And it also shows the demand. So there you go. Plus demand.
There's the other side.
What's going to happen with house prices in 2024? Everybody, go back to grade 10 economics class. Yeah, man, it's certainly interesting. We had a client in town here hire a different agent and try that same strategy. They got they listed at 500. They were hoping to get 8. They had 20 something offers on offer night. The highest offer got to something like 750, and they said no, we won't take it. Canceled, relisted at $799.9 and sold it for $762 a couple days later. So, a house is worth what it's worth. It kind of doesn't matter what you price it at. And the right strategy might not always be the right strategy. You never really know until you do it. There's different ways to go about it. So it's interesting.
Anyways, so are you opposed to that strategy?
No, I'm all for any strategy. I'm pro what's best for the client. And if my client is the seller and we know that 2 days ago there was a place that showed that 40 people looked at and they, there were 8 offers on it and 7 people didn't get to buy a house, then maybe the right strategy for that. And if I call the other agent and say, hey, what kind of offers did you get? Oh, they were all like junk offers. Or no, there was 3 or 4 people right near the top that just, missed out on it. And I'm going to list the property 2 days later. Maybe I'm listing it and I'm trying to get those 2 or 3 people that just missed out. Every different scenario has a different strategy that's going to make the most sense. Sometimes it has to do with what the client's interested in. Sometimes there's so many different ways to do it. There's 3 basic ways to price a home, right? You can price it at list price, at fair market value. You can price it below fair market value. You can price it above fair market value. The real basic rudimentary way to say it is if you price it at fair market value, it will sell in the average days on market. It should theoretically sell in the average days on market, right? So if average days on market's 2 months, then it should take you about 60 days to sell if you price at fair market value. If you price too high, you have got to play the come down game, and you ultimately end up selling your house for a little bit less than fair market value. And if you price a little bit less than fair market value, there's a chance that you sell really quickly, and there's also a chance that you sell for a little bit more than fair market value, but it doesn't always work. So risk versus reward, what's each client into? It's their choice, really. We're just here to facilitate that. So it depends.
Good.
I totally skipped over the whole intro. So like, subscribe, share the channel. We're gonna have a midway combo about Magic Mind and how that's been helping you in your business, what you've found with it, as well. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks very much. You can click the link below to download the buyer guide, the seller guide, or schedule an appointment with Kyle or I. Also wanted to talk a little bit about today about maybe we just got too much on the go with this Magic Mind. Our brains are just going, right?
Fired in all six.
That's it. I got 10, V8, V10, V12. Uh, so wanted to talk a little bit about today about after you've closed your property, if there's something that's wrong with it, the difference between a holdback versus a credit on the statement of adjustments. So we had a couple deals closed recently, and even in, even further back, that the seller says, "Hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this." And at the final walkthrough, we go through. I'm like, "Man, that's not done. What's going on?" And so the lawyer can make a decision with the client about whether they want to do a credit on the statement of adjustments, which essentially means the buyer is going to pay X amount of money less because it's going to cost them that money to do the work that the seller said they were going to do. Or if there's an unknown, like for example, there's a condo that's going through a process of having a legal battle, and that's on the seller, whatever the results of that is, but it's unknown what it's going to be. In those cases, they might do a holdback, right? Where there's a bit of an unknown in terms of what the cost is going to be. Normally, the strategy there is a holdback, whereas a credit is simply, hey, this is over. Don't talk to me about it anymore. The house is closed. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. Whereas the holdback, there's still, oh well, we're not really sure. Maybe it's going to be this. Maybe it's not going to be this, and maybe the work gets done. Let's say a holdback is the seller said, "Hey, we're going to fix the crack in the foundation," for example, and they don't fix it before closing because they can't. And they think, hey, well, it's going to cost us $5,000 to fix this crack in the foundation. Okay, good. Well, we're going to put $7,000 away to fix the crack. The crack gets fixed. They pay the $5,000 out of the $7,000 that was being held, and then the other $2,000 goes back to the seller. That is a typical holdback. But sometimes the seller says, "Oh well, I'm not going to release those funds that are in the holdback," right? And then you got to go into legal action about it. And so there's a lot of different risks involved with doing a holdback. There's also a risk in doing a credit because if the cost of the work to do is more than what the credit's for, then you as the buyer are on the hook for something the seller said that they would do.
Bank doesn't like any of those. Bank hates all that stuff
Yeah.
because that affects. Because typically, anytime you see something like a credit, the bank and usually takes that as a decrease in value on the property.
Right.
Right. So a lot of these things come down to timing and where they fall in. Right. I've talked before, and I've put a couple posts up, and I actually, on my socials about like one of the toughest things is you negotiate. You're in your conditional period, and you're negotiating. You do the inspection, right? Offer goes in on Monday. You do the inspection Wednesday. Conditional finance Friday, and on Thursday night or Friday morning, I'll get the notice of fulfillment saying, "Hey, we've waived our financing or an amendment," and there's a list of like, and it's $10,000 less, and the sellers are gonna fix this, and this. There, we're done and we're ready to go. And it's like, whoa, wait a sec. The bank hasn't seen that yet, and they might want a bigger. They might turn this into a bigger project than you think, right? And especially if I have one right now where clients ask for several things to be fixed, and the seller was just like, "No, not doing it," and then they're like, "They weren't that big of a deal, so okay, fine, we'll just take care of it." But that got the lender's wheels spinning, and they're like, "Show us the inspection report," because now they're like, if this is what you're willing to fix or willing to discuss, what are you not willing to discuss?
Right.
And they're diving deeper. So those things can be interesting for sure. And they can ask for they can ask for the lender can ask for notice of fulfillment on those particular things. So if you have not done them as the seller, right, you're tanking your own deal.
Yeah.
Because the lender's not going to give you the money.
I had one 2 weeks ago where we put an offer in on a property. It was conditional, same thing you're describing. We bought it on the weekend. We did the inspection on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, we sent an amendment saying, "Hey, um, here's what we found in the inspection." So it was first a phone call with the other agent. Here's what we found in the inspection is a setup, right? So here's what we found in the inspection. There's this, and this. Oh, well, I told you that the furnace and the AC were old, so don't talk to me about that. Okay, fine, that's whatever. But you didn't tell me about this, and this, right? And so one of them was the wiring didn't have grounds. One of them was there's a crack, like step cracking on the brick on the outside of the house, which might or might not go down to the foundation. Can't see just because function of the fact that it's wintertime. And the other was the ductwork is run backwards, so the returns are coming up through the floor and the hot air is coming up from the ceiling. So someone just connected the whole thing backwards. So we went back to them and said, "Hey, look, you know what? We don't know about the foundation, what it is." In brackets, I'm a really good negotiator and I will do everything that I can for my client. So the conversation that I was having with the listing agent, a little bit different than the conversation I was having with my client, right? So telling my client, "Hey, look, you shouldn't expect to get anything back. We bought it for 622. You shouldn't expect to get anything back because this is just, regular stuff. There isn't really a foundation crack. You're going to remove the HVAC anyways. You're going to be rewiring the house anyway. So who cares? All of this stuff doesn't matter." He's like, "Well, but if I can get more money off the house, I will." So I'm like, "Yeah, well, give it a try. Who knows?" So I go back to the listing agent who doesn't know the house, who hasn't seen the inspection report, doesn't know any of this stuff. And I said, "Hey, there's a crack in the foundation. If you want to go look at it, you can see it on the bricks. You can see the step cracking on the bricks underneath the window. Whether or not it goes underground, we don't know. But that's a risk that we have to take." So the conversation I had with him is that we have to fix it. Do we have to fix it? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there's no actual water. Maybe it's just all facade, right? And the inspection report says, yeah, you monitor, right? It says monitor, doesn't say repair. And then talked about the other two things, set up the listing agent and told him, "Look, we've got $15,000 worth of work to do when we do it all." In brackets, he's already doing all of this and he's already expected to do it because he's essentially getting the whole place and turning it back. So we go back to the listing agent and say, "Look, you got to put grounding in, you got to do this. And now because you know about these things, you're legally obligated to disclose these latent defects. If we don't firm up, you're legally obligated to disclose these latent defects to anybody else who comes along and looks at this property, which is negatively going to affect your value." So probably about $15,000 worth of work to do here. We're not asking for 15,000. We're reasonable. We'll ask for half. We bought it for 622. We'll firm up the deal today at 615. And you know what he did? He did it. And I was like, "You shouldn't have done that. You could have played a little bit harder with me, and my guy still would have signed at 622 and moved on with it because really there was nothing wrong with the house." But on the amendment, he changed it. And he said on the amendment, "Don't ask me about this crack in the foundation. Don't ask me about this." He wrote it right there on the amendment. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you need to listen to this podcast, man. You're putting your seller in a bad spot." Thankfully, the financing for my guy is solid. He could just pay for the house in cash. Not a concern. And I knew that his banker was going to ask for the home inspection. So I had a conversation with him. He's like, "Hey, man, what's going on here?" I'm like, "No, no, no. This is just me. I am that good of a negotiator. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong with the property. Here's the home inspection report. I can't send it because it's not mine." So I told the buyer to send it. He sent the home inspection report. I'm like, "Look at the report. It's nothing. It's just me pulling the wool over the eyes of a crappy agent for the benefit of my seller." And so the guy was like, "Oh, okay, well, good for you."
You're just mad because 2 weeks ago I said, "Hey, look, man, you're not that good of a negotiator, okay?"
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, "I'll
That's
show
what I said.
you."
Yeah, I'll show you, Kyle. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, I instantly thought about that conversation as soon as it happened. That's my story about negotiating during the conditional period. I know it's not exactly talking about the idea of it's a little bit different after the deal's already firm and before it closes. But we have certainly negotiated in those instances with sellers if we're representing the buyer and the seller says they're going to do something, and then turns out they didn't. It happens.
And it's one of those things too where it's like it's such a big piece of what I try to do when I'm educating, but it is when I'm trying to educating the even just real estate agents. It's like agents have asked me like, why would I know this? Why would I care? And I'm like, because you're going to sell a house someday. Like you're not just going to always be the buyer agent. Probably you're probably going to sell a house. And when someone comes to you with these things and you're like, no, 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 or you're pushing back or whatever it is, realize that you can be shooting yourself in the foot because you're going to screw up your buyer's financing.
That's right.
And they're not going to close. And guess who wins when nobody closes? It's a pretty quick answer. Nobody. Exactly. Mel Lastman special. Like it's fine. but that's the thing. Like you need to know what you're doing will negatively affect the other side because that other side affects you. Right? Like it has to go two ways.
That is a perfect segue because what we were talking about before we jumped on was it's all about the setup, right? And you were telling me about how you set up a deal for a client who wasn't able to set them up for themselves. So I've got in the second half, we'll talk about that. I've got a cars kill deal story for you.
Oh, beautiful. Love those.
That we could talk about in the second half. But we'll take a quick break, hear from our sponsor, Magic Mind, as always. Delicious little elixir. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might like this type of conversation, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah, so been using Magic Mind now for I think it's almost 3 weeks. I think about 3 weeks now. Looking forward to a refill, which is coming up because I have run out. I'm on my last one, and I get up at like 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, it's ugly. Don't ask me why, but I do it. And then shake out the cobwebs, get going. Don't have coffee in the morning. I'll have a tea, but then easily around about 7 o'clock when the rest of the house gets up and we're getting going, start to already feel a little bit of a little bit of a crash. And that's usually about the time I take it, usually when I'm having breakfast. And it definitely has improved that just state, right? That steady state for a longer period of time. I don't feel the up. I don't feel the down though. It's just nice and cruise for a good chunk of the day. And that's been the nicest steady consistency that I've been looking for. Definitely felt the focus as the more I've used it gone on through the day to just focus. Like it's a busy thing. The mortgage world is I'm not insulting anybody with ADHD, but that's what it feels like. I would think it's just this and this, but this and this, and it's going 9 places. Like there's 100 tabs open on my little computer, and being able to slice through that with any little bit of help has been phenomenal. So if what you're doing isn't working, then try something different. And this would be a good try, right? We've been lucky enough that Magic Minds extended our promo, use the promo code RealCollective20 to February 10th, which is cool. And I believe it's you buy 3 months and get 1 month free as well.
Yep.
So that's that. So that's a great opportunity. Like, again, continue to do what you've always done. You'll continue to get what you've always got. If this is one small change, it could be the thing. I know it's worked for me. I'm super stoked about being able to use it. So Magic Mind, worth it.
Welcome back, you beautiful people, to the second half of the Real Collective podcast. I hope you like that little interlude from Magic Mind. Kyle sharing his experiences about, waking up at 4:30 in the morning. You crazy nut. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might be interested in this type of conversation. And you can schedule an appointment with Kyle or I down below in the Calendly links. You can also download the buyer or the seller guide down there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for your ears. Watching on Facebook, thanks for your eyes and ears. And smell? No, probably not. So we were talking.
Not yet. It's coming.
Yeah. Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision's on the way.
about a deal that you were able to put together that somebody else missed out on. And I think it comes down to, you said this before, like 2024 is going to be, you got to do the right thing and you got to know what you're doing. So as much as we're hating on education, it's like, yeah, man, people don't know this stuff, right? And so they got to figure it out. So you've got a good one. So jump in.
Yeah, it's not just people. It's brokers too. And I'm not dogging this guy necessarily. It's just it was just interesting. So the quicker version of a longer story is I've had a client for several years. We've done several mortgages together. They've always been in the alternative space for several reasons, and they're not bad. Just that's the way it works.
Sure.
And her situation's changed again. And unfortunately, she decided to go a different route instead of coming back to me this time. And mostly because someone enticed her and said, "Hey, yeah, I can get this done like at my bank." And I was like, "Probably not, but I guess so." And that one guy at the bank tried, and then it was like, sorry, can't do it. And that was that. And then someone else in the same bank is like, "Don't worry, I'm better than him. I can get it done." Okay. So she tried. Can't do it. So whether people know it or not, some, if not all, I know at least two, but of the big six banks have access to brokers like us. But that's their only thing they do is handle those offshoots from the bank. And they only have a handful of our alternative lenders that have special contracts and business the way they do things. So this guy in Toronto was handed this deal and put it through the channel, the broker side channel, and he goes, "Yeah, hey, client, I got it done, but you need to find $40,000 more for XYZ reason." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's it. So just go out and borrow that money, and you'll be fine." And if you're in the alternative space, you don't have those opportunities in most cases.
Right.
So she could just go out and find it.
Right.
And she called me just being like, "Hey, sorry, but this is what's happening. Like, I'm panicking here." So we restructured the deal and we're fighting with it and working on it hard. And I called that lender as another, the same lender, our B lender that the bank guy went to and that I'm going back to. And it clicked. And I'm like, "Wait, you guys have already seen this deal."
Yeah.
Like, it was declined. My guy looked it up and said, "Well, no, we approved it, but we didn't have enough money apparently by what the broker told us." And I'm like, "But you do have enough money." I said, "But what we need is a small second mortgage. So I want to structure it like this, blah, 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 blah." And they're like, "Yep, done. No problem." And it's like, and there was no getting more money. There's no sending her back. It was just, "Yeah. Oh, that's how you want to do it? That's how this works?" "Yes." "Oh, that's not what he told us." I'm like, that's an ish him, not an ish me. Like, this is how this works. "Yep, we're in for that. No problem. Let's get it done." And that's the kind of stuff where it's like, you have to know the questions to ask if to know how to structure it properly. On the other side, that's also why when people start shopping too hard for a mortgage, you can shoot yourself in the foot. You can shoot yourself in the foot because typically when a deal gets flagged, everybody can see it that needs to see it.
Yeah.
So if I'm presenting it one way and that other guy's presenting it another, the only person that looks like they're lying is you.
Right.
So you can get it. You can get yourself into some heavy shit there. So you have to be you need to shop. You have to be careful how you're shopping and who you're shopping with, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
but we're stoked to get this lady. I mean, we're gonna save this lady like $800 a month and keep a family of 6 in a house. There's still a couple things to do. We're not 100% done. So I don't count chickens, but that's huge for this lady. And that guy's answer was, "Call me when you find 40 grand. Thanks, Jeff." Help. Big help.
Oh my goodness. I don't count. You don't count chickens. I don't count sheep. Never sleep. Just always awake.
Yeah, but 4:30, there's no sheep to count. They're just like, "We're in bed, dude."
That's it. Just fuzzy and snuggly. I
Yeah.
I've got one for you. Every time you drop these lines on me, I'm always like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to say, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. So we had a conditional sale on a property. So this is crazy. So today's Thursday. I got a phone call on Friday last week, Thursday or Friday last week, and someone said, "Hey, you've got this property. I'm calling from Toronto. My friend is coming up from Toronto and they want to see it. So I started asking qualifying questions because that's what I do. What are they doing? What are they buying? Da 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 da. All these different things. No, look, stop asking me all these questions. I just want to see the house. I'm like, look, that's fine. I'll show you the house, but I just want to make sure that everything is good here. Like we want to be all set. Oh, and I asked. I think the one final question I asked was, well, if we see the house and you like it, do you have someone who'll help you buy it, or do you have that relationship? Oh, and finally she's like, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Don't. I'll find someone else. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. I
Spidey,
they're
Spidey
they're hang, they're
senses.
hanging up they're hanging up the phone. Well, I'm not even talking to the principal. I'm talking to the referral, like the friend of my friend wants to come up from Toronto and see a place in Spencer
Oh,
Falls, a place in Athens, and a place in Cornwall. I don't know this person. I've never met this person. I don't know anything about them. Can they finance it?
all
Can
of
they do
East.
this stuff?
I would like to see a house in all of Eastern Ontario, please,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dude.
Can you show me all of them, please? Yeah, let me ask you some questions first. How do you want to be represented? All of these things, right? And this is like they're calling on Friday, and we're trying to see places on Saturday, and some of them are tenant occupied, so you can't even see them. So it's just like, you know what? I'm asking all these questions, and finally she's just like, I don't need to answer all these questions, and she just hung up the phone. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's it. So a showing comes through on Saturday on the property. Two showings on that one property come through, and both of them with agents, whatever. And later that day on Saturday, an offer comes through, and the name on the offer, and the person's coming out driving up from Toronto, and the name sounds like it probably was a similar name. Like, oh, here's the story. Okay, this is the agent who went and showed it to you. Good for them. This is a good agent, like a good, well reputed agent. Okay, so I got the offer, conditional sale. Boom, before I full price offer, like great, right? Before I accepted that deal, I called the agent. I'm like, hey, you know what? We want to work with you. We're not certain about the time. Well, we need to move in by March 28th. My guy's like, I can't move out that quickly. Like that's a month and a half, whatever. And so I said, are they pre-approved? Yes, I have a pre-approval letter from the lender. Okay, good. How did you meet this guy? I never met this guy. I met him yesterday. I'm like, oh, this is the same guy, right? It's same guy. It's the friend of the person I was talking with. I didn't show the houses, whatever. And I was bummed because we sold the house. I'm like, oh man, I could have sold the house, right? You sell a house, you get paid money. So I was like, I could have sold the house. And then yesterday, the client's freaking out, the seller's freaking out. Oh my goodness, we're going to close March 28th. We've got to go find a place. My budget is only this. We've got to go looking all over God's green earth to find a place. And I did the same thing. I drove from Lanark to Cornwall yesterday. What do I know about Cornwall? I don't know anything about Cornwall or Lanark, any of those places. But I'm doing what I need to do for my client, right? The person whose house is sold, he needs to buy a house, otherwise he's going to be homeless. So I took the whole day yesterday. The second last showing that we were at, we're like, yeah, that's the house. We've got it. We know the one we got. We put an offer on it. We're working at it quickly. I get an email from the agent. Sorry, we can't go ahead with the deal. The financing didn't get approved. Well, come on. I asked you about that in the first place. So finally, I call the agent back. I'm like, what happened? Like, I asked you about this. You said the financing was good. And now all of a sudden it's not? Like, what's up? Oh, sorry. I had the pre approval letter, but when I sent the deal to the lender, I didn't realize that the guy went out and bought a $98,000 pickup truck. And so the deal's not happening anymore. And the guy's freaking out because he's like, where am I going to live? I need a pickup truck to do my new job in Ottawa that I'm coming up from Toronto to do. So I got the truck. But now instead of buying a house, he's going to be stuck renting. And the agent's like, oh my God, Sean, I'm so sorry. I always asked for a letter, but I didn't follow up. I was busy. I had the awards gala that I was attending for 2 days, so I wasn't able to do my proper due diligence. And it all happened so quick. And I didn't do all my due diligence before. And I wasted my whole
Cars kill deals.
driving all across Ontario for nothing, right?
Cars kill deals, baby.
Man, oh man, I was frustrated. So that was my experience with cars killing deals. So
Oh, that's tough. That is tough. But there's a couple things there though too. Like someone calling in that type of panic who can't answer questions, that's Spidey sense all day. Spidey sense all day.
yeah,
And again, it's that same thing of like just because like the deal's not done until the deal is done. I don't care what anybody tells you at any bank, ever. The fact that the term pre-approved does not mean it's approved. And here's another kicker on that. I had another set of clients who were pre-approved, and I did it. I know what was coming.
Yeah, yeah.
What people don't realize is that there's another part of that pre-approval, and it's called fucking house.
Yeah, yeah,
like you're not gonna. I tell people all the time, like, you're not going to get approved for $300,000 shack in the woods because you like solitude, right? And you're a good risk. It's not about you anymore. It moves from you to the property, because the banks are going to think of it that you suck, you're going to fail, you're not going to pay us. And if we got to flip this house, can we make our money back in 30, 60, 90 days? And if we can't, that's not a problem we want. We'd sooner see you homeless. This sounds terrible, but we'd sooner see you not buy than us take a problem. That's their thought. If you think anything otherwise, you are kidding yourself. You are not that special. I hate to say that, but that's the way that's literally their thought process. It's wild.
Speaking of other things that we hate to say, there was a last piece here before we sign off. There was an article that came through on Inman, which is a place where realtors go to, toot their horn about how great they are. Just kidding. It's a news article for real estate agents. But there's some stuff that came through in the States that said you cannot say, date the rate, marry the house. It's oversimplified, and some people got into trouble about saying it. So if you're a real estate agent, or if you hear the phrase date the rate, marry the house, stop saying it. Don't listen to it. And like you say, how intricate all of this stuff is.
You said it last week.
Oh yeah, sure, but you can't. The problem is you can't oversimplify it, because it makes people think like, oh well, I'll just I'll buy the place and the rate will come down in X number of years, and I'll refi, and then we'll be okay. There's more to it than that. Is the point of this ruling that came down to the States? So this is complicated. There is not an easy way to oversimplify and properly oversimplify the buying of a house, right? The mortgaging of a house. This is tough stuff. We're in this, you and I, every day. And what you do and what I do, sure, they run in
aligned, yeah.
But they're totally different. Your rules and regs are different from my rules and regs, and we're playing in sandboxes that are beside each other. But there's so much in your sandbox that I don't know about, and there's so much in my sandbox that you don't know about. So to oversimplify it and say to someone, oh yeah, hey, you just come play in the sandbox and blah blah blah, you bought a house. There's a lot to it.
And unfortunately, it's so ingrained in our culture in North America, and it's a super emotional thing. It's on the ladder of things to do to prove that you've made it, or that you're successful, whatever, that it blurs the reality of it. And at the end of the day, like mortgage math and wealth and stuff is, I was literally just saying this to another agent, just in a discussion, that it's something that's intimidating. It's something that not a lot of people know about. It can be disappointing, and it's not the math we like to do. And at the end of the day, that's it, right? You're borrowing money over a long period of time. When that time period crunches, the amount you have to pay is higher. It doesn't really, it matters how the interest rate, but it's not as big of a deal as you want it to be. And so just refinancing later won't necessarily cure all your issues. The amount it has to go down for that, from where it is, for that to cure your problem, like, there's bigger problems in the world that will be happening if that happens again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as always, guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might be interested in this type of thing. If you've got things that you want us to talk about, hit us up in the comment section below. You can add whatever you'd like. If you don't like our faces, you can also write that in the comment section, whatever it is. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you don't even know what we look like. You can schedule an appointment with Kyle or I directly in the calendar links below. Thanks again to Magic Mind. And if you want to download the buyer or seller guides, you can do that below. Again, thank you so much for your ears. And until next time, keep it real.
Collective.